Happy November, folks. It's time for another edition of SJHL Weekly as we dive into a new month of hockey, and a whole bunch of stuff is going on, including the Western All-Star Challenge, and we're going to get to that soon. But we have a big show for you today presented by our friends at UPL here at the IKS Media Studios. And we're going to recap a busy Halloween weekend. We have Players of the Week and Players of the Month to announce later in the show. We're going to name some underrated players, myself and Nugsy, a little bit later on, and give a shout out to some very deserving guys across the league. And we're going to be joined by Melfort Mustangs head coach and general manager Trevor Blevins, who of course is also running the Western All-Star Challenge team for Team Canada West. So a whole lot to talk about with him, and he's going to come up actually in the first segment. So today's show is going to look a little bit different than most shows. We're actually going to have our interview segment right away early on in the first segment, and then we're going to be going into the weekend recap stuff after the first commercial break. Plus, later in the show, in our third segment, the presenting sponsor of the Western All-Star Challenge is Palliser Insurance, and we're going to be joined by Richard Seward to talk about their involvement in the event and a whole lot more with Palliser Insurance. But first, let's thank all of our sponsors, of course, and that starts with Canterra Seeds, Capital Auto Mall, Canalta Hotels, SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, Chevrolet, Great Western, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Vaterstad. And before we get started, if you're watching on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, please hit the like and share buttons and send us a comment. We want to hear from you. We'll probably get your comment up on the screen throughout the show if you send it in. Let us know what you want to talk about. If you agree with us, if you disagree with us, if there's anything we missed, let us know. And speaking of missing somebody, missing something, I'm all alone in the studio today. I don't know if, I got nobody here with me, but over the video chat line from Warman is the freshly shaven, the clean-looked Jamie Neugebauer. Jamie, it's Movember. You're at the Western All-Star Showcase today. How is everything going with you?
It's great. Big-time shout-out to Brad Pilkington and the Warman Wolverines. I'm actually, I don't know if people can see, I'm in the Warman Wolverines store where they just sold $9,000, I think, on their pink at the rink jerseys to donate money to Jim Pattison Children's Cancer Center. Really awesome stuff. and obviously a gorgeous store they have here in Ormond. So great job, everybody, and thank you for Ormond for having me.
So, of course, the Western All-Star Challenge is coming up starting today. It's not in Warman, it's next door in Martinsville, so you'll be heading there shortly. But there's a lot going on, Jamie, so just tell everybody kind of what's happening with the Western All-Star Challenge today.
Yeah, so players will come. They're going to register at 4. There'll be a practice at 5:45. Trevor Blevins will run that one, the head coach of Canada West. And then tomorrow, there'll be the first game at 7:30 in Martinsville. Brett Pilkington will be the head coach. Braden Klamosko will be the assistant. And then the day after that, Brett Pilkington will coach Team SJHL again against Team MJHL at 11:30 a.m. My understanding is that there'll be plenty of minor hockey teams in the games tomorrow, and plenty of schools there for the 11:30 game on Wednesday. So should be a lot of fun. I'll be posting a lot on social media, different interviews, try to get highlights up from the games, and whatever I can. If you have any questions for me, any players, I'd love to hear it. Send me a message or send us a message at the SJHL social media platforms, and maybe I'll post a story with some questions. You never know. Just get involved, folks.
Yeah, so I mentioned Movember, and of course Kelly Lewick just chimed in. He is our he's here with IKS Media, of course. If you haven't heard me say his name 100 times a show, he's our graphic designer, but he's also heavily involved in Movember Saskatchewan, and he just commented in. I noticed he said, "Looking good, Neugsy." I also shaved everything off as well, and he didn't say anything about me, so now I'm all sad. But I don't think, did we talk about getting the graphic in the back, guys, for the Movember graphic? I think we have it in there somewhere. But it is Movember, of course, so going with the clean shave look, the mustaches will come in throughout the month, Nugsy. We raised over $21,000 as a league overall, of course, with all the teams included last year. So we're looking to do that kind of thing again, Nugsy. You're the one that's obviously a little bit more obvious because you have a bigger beard on the regular. So can you maybe give us your thoughts on Movember this season as we kind of dive into November this month?
Yeah, first of all, big time shout out to Kelly Lewick, our great graphics sort of leader, and how he's taken the lead a lot with this Movember. Yeah, obviously the Notre Dame Hounds won the league last year in November and raised a lot of money, a lot through the work of Marko Djordjevic and his family. But yeah, we encourage everybody out there to get involved, find someone to donate to. If you're not, growing a mustache or doing whatever, find a way to give some cash to a kid on your team that is. I know I had one coach reach out to me, ask if I was doing it. I said I am, but maybe find if one of your players are doing it first, and that would be a lot of fun. And the last thing I'll say too, Clark, is there is a special prize that will be given to the team that raises the most money on their Movember account. It may be a pizza party for that team, so for the players. And so get your money going, and we'll have different updates on how the mustaches are going around the. There you go, nice sound around the league. There you go.
Awesome, and it's going to be a great month, and of course we're going to have more information for you next week on SJHL Weekly. I think we're going to be joined, hopefully, by Todd Minerson from Movember Canada. So we're going to have somebody in talking about that. So we'll keep you updated, and we'll keep pumping it throughout the month. But right now, Nugsy, we are in the starting hours of the Western All-Star Challenge. So why don't we kind of dive a little bit more back into that as we look at, there was a roster change, so we have a bit of an update. But let's start with the overall roster, Nugsy, and just because I know we've talked about it a couple times on the show, but maybe run down the roster for us.
Yeah, so this is the under 19, so everybody is 2006 born and younger. And there are only 4 06s on this team because Team Canada West will only pick 5 06s, including Alberta League and Manitoba League. So this team will play a team very of the same kind of parameters, 2 games against them, against the Manitoba Leaguers that are in town here, and should be a lot of fun. Now, look, there's always going to be people who complain and say this guy and that guy and whatever. Remember that the assignment for Trevor Blevins and for Hockey Canada is to keep Hockey Canada happy, to keep the NHL happy. And obviously you have Connor Miller and Jackson Herchek, the NCAA D1 commits, also guys who are back from Canada West and their performance, their bronze medal winning performance a year ago too. So obviously lots to say about all this, but the one replacement that you mentioned, Christian Lassell of the Humboldt Broncos, dealing with an injury of some sort. He has been replaced by the leading rookie point getter in the league, Clark, Cash Olsen, who I know you're a big fan of. So I'm really excited to see the former Saha man, Cash Olsen, do well here. I'm sure he'll be great. And SFN Bruins fans will be happy, and deservedly so, that he's here too. So it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did hear from, there was a couple people who were like, I wonder why Cash Olsen didn't make it. That's surprising. So there you go. Cash Olsen now on the roster. So that rounds it out pretty well, I would say. And I think well, first of all, let's just check in with people who are checking in with us on Facebook. Don Williams says, hi, fellas. Paul Drouin, our boss here at IKS, says, I didn't even recognize Jamie. Wow.
Yeah, they got a new guest host.
Yeah, there you go. New guy, the new guy over here.
The new nukes.
The new nukes. And then of course, Kelly says, my bad, Clark. I did notice you when you walked in today. Well, thank you. Thank you, Kelly. Of course.
Can I just mention one more thing quickly, though?
Yep.
There was a question mark about Tate Timmerman, the Warman Wolverines goaltender, about his health. He hasn't played for about a week due to an injury. My understanding is he's fine, and he's here, or he's in Martinsville, and he's going to play. Well, he's probably here right now, actually, but he's in Martinsville, and he'll be playing to the fine prospect of the Saskatoon Blades, who, as I mentioned, terrorized the Manitoba League last year. So I'm sure those guys will be like, oh, I thought we saw the back of this guy, but I guess not. So
yeah. And of course, that was a big kind of question mark, like you said, coming into this, because you mentioned it last year. Tate Timmerman had a huge role in the Manitoba Junior Hockey League as a rookie. This year he came over to the Warman Wolverines, and he's got a ton of talent. So exciting to see that he's in this and he's back, and he'll be an impact player, no doubt, on this roster. I'm assuming, Nugsy, from what you've heard, just like last year, each goalie will get one full game. Obviously, we don't know what order they're going to put them in, but it'll be good to see Tate Timmerman get some action there for sure, especially if he's healthy, and he deserves it. He has a ton of talent. So on that note, Nugsy, we have a couple more minutes here before Trevor Blevins logs in and we chat with him to get his thoughts on this whole thing. But can you just give us a breakdown? You mentioned it quickly earlier. There has been a couple people asking me about it, just how the roster is formulated for the actual Team Canada West, because last year, it's about the same as it was last year, but there's a kind of a confusing thing when it comes to Alberta. Why isn't Alberta here? We thought they might be this year, but they aren't. So how does that all work in terms of what these two games this week mean and where it goes from after this?
Yeah, so unlike last year, there is no extra camp. So last year, guys who made this camp, went to a camp that was mixed with Alberta players in Alberta, and then kids that didn't make it had to come back. It was pretty silly, actually. So I'm glad they got rid of it. So they, Trevor Blevins, I asked him about this. He said, we've had eyes on the Alberta League for a while, and they're just going to pick players from how guys have done in the Alberta League. And then these two games will be tryouts for Manitoba and SJ, guys who can stick out. And I think it's a good advantage, really, for these kids at this event to, obviously they've stuck out, and so they're here, but to even stick out even more and make a team, or maybe they were on the radar for this team, but maybe not for that one. You know how coaches are, they're always sort of filling in pencil their depth chart and where a guy sits. So if a guy can jump over, another guy, then that is how it kind of goes. A guy like Connor Miller, for example, he was, obviously D1 committed, but he was just so terrific at the event last year. The Humboldt Broncos player, and just so physically strong. And, people talk about his speed, but when he turns on the jets, like, he's skating by people. So I don't know what people are talking about. I'm no skating expert, but he seems like he's fast enough to me. But obviously, great character as well. So lots of opportunity for these kids these next 2 days to be on the ice. I spoke to Fierson Lindorf a little bit, the Warman Wolverines defenseman. He said he's, excited to hear maybe some perspectives from Braden Klamosko, from Trevor Blevins, some guys that have been around a long time. Obviously, Coach Brett is a great coach too, but to get a different voice into your game is always great too for these guys. And it should be very interesting. I could talk about everybody on this team, Clark, and I'd be happy to do so. But overall, it's a very interesting group. It's a group with a lot of size and physicality and jam, as I've mentioned. Brett Pilkington, or Trevor Blevins, likes in a player. There's lots of guys that will score and also cross-check you in the face in clear Saskatchewan manner. So tell you what, the Manitobans are their superstars are a little bit younger, but they're going to be treated to they should be, if the SJHL plays properly, Clark, they should be treated to a much more physical, much more fast, much more aggressive game than the way that the Manitoba League usually is for their regular season. Our regular season, of course, is a little bit more physical, a little bit more heavy, maybe a slightly less focus on speed and skill, but obviously we got plenty of that too. So it should be a lot of fun. But the last thing I'll say, Clark, is that I looked through this SJHL list, and obviously, we'll recap the week that was in the SJHL. All sorts of these guys had great weeks. Like all sorts of these guys are coming in with lots of confidence after putting some pucks in. Tristan Zayola with 3 points is one that really sticks out. Rylan Hugh had a great week for Humboldt. So you go down the list. It's guys who are coming in confident, and super happy to see Jackson Herchak is back in healthy Colorado College commit. Incredible guy as well in the Kindersley Clippers. I'm sure thrilled to have him in the lineup every night again.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Nugsy, we are going to be heading out on the video chat now. You're already on the video chat, but we're going to head out because it sounds like we have our guest logged in and ready to roll. So let's bring him in now. Trevor Blevins, of course, with the Melfort Mustangs, but he is heading up the committee for Team Canada West here as we enter this Western All-Star Challenge week. Trevor, are you able to kind of keep everything under? Like, is your head underwater? How's this going this week? I know it's a lot for anybody.
Oh, it's been a great experience. Guys are great to work with. We've got a phenomenal staff, and Mike McCauley has been unbelievable as a GM. He's a very great hockey mind, and has been able to work well with everyone, include everyone's opinions, and you can tell he's successful for a reason. And Eric Labrosse has been there last year. Just a great veteran, obviously of the format and the experience. So that's a huge asset. And Josh Gratton, he can't get any better than that. He's phenomenal. Knows the game well. Played at a very high level. And then last but not least, Carter Hansen, near and dear to my heart for sure. And we just all five of us seem to have gelled right away and been fun. It's just been a great experience so far, just working with the staff alone. And if we have the chemistry that we have off the ice, on the ice, I feel we'll definitely have a successful tournament.
Well, I think let's start with just the roster construction for this event, because I know this is step one to a bigger step, obviously, with Team Canada West. But when putting together this SJHL roster, what was the strategy going into it, and what did you want to see from the roster that you brought for Team Saskatchewan to face Team Manitoba, which will eventually help you make some decisions?
Well, it was a collective effort, right? I want to say that, all five of the staff really dug in on every player, and we've dug in on every player all the way through Western Canada too. So we're doing it as a team approach, and really the mandate across the board for us is, I know Nugsy alluded to it before, but playing with a lot of jam, playing with a lot of motor, and that's exactly how we have to be. I think we have to play with pace. Every player has to be able to essentially keep up, so to speak, but also we're looking at competitive nature. We're looking at guys, how they are in the battles with and without pucks, and we need to be able to defend. That's going to be a big piece of where we're at for our group going into an international stage. We got to play the right way and not a defense first mentality, so to speak, but it'll be a big key to our game is how we defend in all three zones.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you mentioned having Eric Labrosse there. Obviously, all the coaches in the league talked. I'm sure you talked to Mike Reagan, as well, of course, who coached Canada West last year. What did you talk to those guys, about from last year? Obviously, Carter Hansen involved too last year. What did you ask them just in terms of what do we need to do maybe a little bit differently last year? Because you know better than me, like it didn't go great maybe during the group stage at the tournament last year. So what are you hoping to be different this year?
Yeah, I think for them though, they won the right game, and that was big. I think when you look at a short-term tournament, it's not how you start on day one; it's how you finish on day 10. So, like for me, I went as far back as Scott Barney too. It's given, asking what we need to be, what's our identity, and what are the keys, and all the guys are great. Give helpful information and what went right, what went wrong, and without getting too much into the details of it. As you know, hey Nugsy, I'm Fort Knox. I keep it locked down. But you're great at trying to get all the information, that's for sure. But as far as where we're at, we we've taken the roster composition based on the model that we think can play. And honestly, yeah, points and skill are important, but for me, it's about the responsibility of the player and how hard they work, and that's going to be first and foremost.
One thing that sticks out to me, Trevor, is obviously it's a heavy 07 group coming for Saskatchewan. There are a few 06s, though. Of course, Connor Miller played on the team last year. We talked about Tristan Ziola, who you're obviously very familiar with in Melfort, Tommy Reese and Simon Martin. And obviously those 06s are in a tough spot because there's only 5 spots for them on the overall team, and there's 3 leagues to choose from. So the percentages there aren't great. But what can you say about these 4 06s that give them a good shot to go on this Team Canada West roster?
Yeah, first of all, I mean, that's the toughest part, right? Is, we've got great quality 06s in the league, and you could go down the rosters of many teams and say, hey, that guy had a chance, that guy. And honestly, we turned over every rock. I believe we did the process fairly, and we made sure that we put the time in as a group. We did a great job that way in evaluating and making sure the right type of player was on the team. And unfortunately, we wish we could take everyone, but it's tough. But to say the least, we have a quality league here, and it was a great process to go through. And many players should have been there. But to your point, yeah, there is only 5 on the team, right? So, it comes down to each province, what best 06s and what best position, right? And so with that, we've got that kind of narrowed down and taken it into camp, and then we'll definitely evaluate again as we go.
Yeah, for sure. Now, obviously, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Blevs, you do that too, for sure. Talk about the practice, right away here coming up today, and what you want to see, in these games to set the tone. Like, what is that tone that you'll be giving? What message will be giving to the guys when you first meet them in the locker room?
Well, for us, it's going to be our structure. From a coach's perspective, it's going to have to be elite. In fact, tonight we're working on 2 things. One is going to be our compete level and see where we're at in some tight area compete, and also we're starting right into our defensive zone. So, we're getting right into it on the D side of the puck. We're going to see how the players execute that through the week, and not only are they going to showcase their skills, but we're going to see how they are for 200 feet, how responsible they are.
So let's talk about the goaltenders. Last year, Angelo Zoll and Callum Craig each got a game for the team. This year, it's Tay Timmerman and Kaysen Kubelka. Obviously, Kaysen, you're very familiar with them. But what can you tell me about these 2 goalies? Obviously, Tay had such an impressive year last year. His numbers maybe aren't what we thought they might be this year, obviously, but numbers, it's a small sample size. So, but Kaysen's had a great start to the year. What can you tell me about the 2 goaltenders you have with Team Saskatchewan here?
Yeah, I think they're both similar in the sense that they got good size. They're both very athletic. For us, we want to see a goaltender and their compete level. I'm not so much a goalie guy. We have that covered with other people we've touched into with staff, but for us, those were the big keys. Is can you make the first one? Yeah. How are you with the second and third? And for us. That's going to probably, if we are under the gun a little bit at times, we're going to need athletic goaltenders to fit the bill. And those 2 guys have a legitimate shot, like every other goaltender in that age group that we're considering. So, it's exciting for them to be as part of the SJHL team, and I hope they do well.
Yeah, for sure. And, obviously, it's not just the SJHL. You'll have your eye on the MJHLers too. Maybe fill in the blank. When you look at this Team MJHL roster, this is what comes to mind.
Well, I think going to be just as competitive as us. As far as you hate to put up against the other, because that's not what we're about as coaches. We're trying to pick the players to fit a certain role on the team. But for me, their defense is going to be very good part of their team. They've got some experience back there. They've got some age. I think they got some bite too. And you look at up front, they're going to have some speed and skill and competitiveness. And I think when you come to the camp or come to the games, they're going to be fast paced, but they're also going to be full of a lot of physicality and a lot of effort. And that's what the expectation is going into this week.
Yeah, for sure. Should be a lot of fun. There's a lot of MJHLers I'm really excited to see, so should be really cool. Last question from me, Blevs. Really appreciate your time before you want to hit the road and come out here to Warman. But let's step away from the rosters for a second. At a personal note, I know you love your players, past and present, and to work with Carter Hansen, I can only imagine it must be an absolute treat for you to work with him. Just talk about some of your feelings around that.
Yeah, those feelings are deep. It's fantastic. I was just taken back for the fact that he was going to be on the staff, and so excited. I mean, I think I was a kid in a candy store. Just love the fact that we get to work together at this stage, and he's just been phenomenal. Like, he gets it right away as soon as we talk and speak. He understands what the keys are gonna be in all three zones. And as far as a video coach putting together a technical package, and he's probably already done it, to be honest. And that's how organized and efficient he is. And he's just a great asset for us to have, as part of the staff. And for him, there's a reason why we won when he was a player. He was detailed. He was a hard worker. He'd put his face in front of a puck if he had to, if it meant winning a hockey game. And he was just that kind of mentality, and was such a glue guy in the dressing room. And he's nothing short of that as a coach. And very, very happy and proud of him for what he's done for the game.
Yeah, fantastic kid there. I say kid, he's not that young, but he's, fantastic guy. Let's talk about that team over your shoulder, Trevor, just before we let you go here. Obviously 14 games into the year. Can you give us a quick little synopsis of the season so far with a 7-5-0-2 record for the Mustangs?
Yeah, I don't think our record is kind of indicative of how we've played. I think, for us, we kind of went through a bit of growing pains, kind of different aspects of the game for the first part of the season here. When we talk about, defensively, we went into Estevan Weber and gave up 9 goals in the house. Well, I don't think that's happened since 2016. So it was kind of like one of those where, we had to kind of buckle it in and bear down defensively, and then offensively too. We were out shooting teams and out chancing and maybe not scoring, but we've addressed that. I think we've had a pretty good run here in our last sample size of 6 games, where I feel we've outplayed the teams in every game we've played in. So, whether we didn't get the results, but our process was great, and there's a lot to be positive about where we're at. And I feel, once we get our special teams going here now and get to where they should be, we'll be right where we need to be.
Perfect. Well, the marathon's just getting going. But right now, I know you have a lot more to focus on the next 2 or 3 days here, so we'll let you get going, Trevor. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you very much.
There you go, Trevor Blevins. A lot going on there, Neugs, with Trevor. So obviously some things he's got to get to. But what were your takeaways there, Neugsy, just about the next couple of days? And then we'll hit a break here.
Yeah, like, he has a high standard. We've seen that with the Melfort Mustangs. Every year, if you can cut it in terms of intensity, in terms of being on the front foot, in terms of getting it on the forecheck, being heavy and hard and quick, then you have a chance to make this team. And if you don't, right from the start, right from practice today, you better just start packing for your team back go to your SJ team or whatever, because he's not gonna give you too much time to get your feet weighted into the water here. But that's Trevor Blevins. That's the way he goes, and I'm so excited to watch what he's gonna do in a small tournament, in a small section of time, to mold a team versus sort of a long year. So it should be interesting.
There we go. Well, practices today, practices tomorrow morning, game tomorrow night, game Wednesday morning, and then it's back to the team's regular season. So let's take a break, and when we come back, Nugsy, we'll recap a busy Halloween weekend. There was 3 days of games we got to get to. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about some of our underrated players so far in the season, and a couple other things. So let's see you on the other side of the break here, folks.
The Price Beat Guarantee is back at Capital GMC in Regina. We will beat any price on any new vehicle from any competitor, or you get $500 cash guaranteed. The Price Beat Guarantee at Capital GMC in Regina.
At Vatterstad, we're partnering with North American farmers to create the perfect emergence. We're doing this with new and innovative tillage, planting, and seeding solutions, optimized for the field conditions that you face, and with industry-leading capacities to help you get the job done in short windows of time, so you can maximize yields. Vatterstad, we look forward to growing together.
Every ticket you buy funds programs all across Saskatchewan, like sports. Buy your tickets today.
In the last decade, the construction industry has reduced injuries by 46%. That's as many injuries prevented that would fill several stadiums. Find out more at scsaonline.ca.
Feeling like your dreams are out of reach? RBC has programs and resources to help you open the door. With RBCX Music, RBC Training Ground, and RBC Scholarships, your idea of your highest potential happens here.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, we're back for SJHL Weekly. Clark Munroe here in the studio. Nugsy on the road in Warman as we are joined by Nugsy one more time for one more segment, I should say. Nugsy, we usually do this in the first segment, so I'm a little thrown off with the timing of it all. But let's go for it now with the Sask Lotteries look back. And we look at the Elkridge scorecard for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So on Friday, the Nipawin Hawks took a 3-2 win over the Melville Millionaires. The Warman Wolverines, we just talked to Trevor Blevins. I know he said sometimes they didn't get the results. He felt they had a good game. But the Warman Wolverines with a 5-2 win over Melfort. Yorkton with a 7-2 win over Battleford. So a big bounce back for Yorkton, who's trying to find their footing still. On Saturday, Humboldt they squeaked out a 3-2 win in the shootout over Kindersley. Flin Flon came out strong with a 5-1 win over Nipawin. The Highway 39 rivalry got underway again this weekend, and Estevan took a 5-4 win at home in a shootout over Weyburn. Melville snuck out a 2-1 win for Battleford, so a tough weekend for Battlefords. And then Melfort got some revenge with a 5-3 win over Warman. And then on Sunday, a couple more games. Estevan completed the sweep of the weekend over the Red Wings with a 6-4 win, and then Humboldt got a 4-1 win over Kindersley at home. So it's a big weekend, Nugsy. Let's start with the headlines there as we kick off the Highway 39 talk with the Highway 39 mayhem. And of course, Estevan takes both games over the weekend. Weyburn did sneak out 1 point out of it. But the Bruins, I'm going to say, sending a pretty big message, not only with the results over the weekend, but they made a couple of additions to their roster as well, strengthening that roster, Nugsy. And we were both talking over the weekend, pretty impressed with the moves and obviously with the results for them as well.
Yeah, obviously, we'll talk more, maybe a little bit about the moves during Nugs and Notes, but obviously Matthew Ron with a huge impact right away, and his impact, clearing a little space for Ethan Andrews, who had 3 goals over the weekend there, as Estevan and Weyburn had 2 games. This was Sunday afternoon in Weyburn, and yes, Estevan won both. Weyburn hadn't played since I think October the 18th, and they played hard and maybe showed a little bit of rust, especially on the defensive side of the puck. There were about 4 or 5 lead changes over the weekend. There were 15 goals scored. There were plenty of scoring, or 19 goals scored, pardon me. There were plenty of scoring chances, both ways. It was an interesting weekend. I'm sure Cody Mapes wasn't super thrilled with the results. Certainly the effort was there, but Clark, how much fun? I know it's a long way away and lots of teams in the league. We love them all. But how much fun would sort of a playoff series, even a finals between these 2 teams be?
Well, it'd be fun, but the way that they're both playing, I mean, so far, like you said, Weyburn seems like they haven't played in almost a month. But right now, they're both top 4 teams. So they're both looking at home ice advantage opportunities in the round 1 right now. Obviously, that could change in a weekend. But obviously, how exciting would a Highway 39 rivalry playoff round be? That would be unbelievable. We'd love to see it, especially when both teams are playing so well. I don't think we're getting one unless we're seeing maybe a 4-5 matchup, maybe if we get to that point. But both these teams look like they're pushing for home ice advantage right now. So we'll see about that, Nugsy, but it'd be a ton of fun. And boy, like you said, like 19 goals scored in 2 games, a 5-4 game and a 6-4 game. Like that's exactly what these fan bases want. Obviously, it was a busy weekend with Halloween and the World Series game, so you probably didn't see, I mean, Sunday was a bit different, but you probably didn't see some of the crowds you maybe would have otherwise. But wow, it's going to be a fun one, and you'll talk about it more in Nugs and Notes, so we'll get there. But the Bruins seem to be taking advantage of this hot start and maybe deciding we're going to go for this one. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But let's move on with the headlines here and move on to the Humboldt Broncos. Just win, baby. They just keep winning, Nugsy. And we got the Humboldt Broncos sitting right now with a 4-point cushion for first place. They just keep winning. 7 straight wins, 8-2 in their last 10. What can we say about the Humboldt Broncos? We thought they might be really good early on. Maybe I didn't think they would be this good. How good are they?
Well, I mean, I wrote in the Players of the Week article that maybe the only question mark we had walking into the year was who can replace the great Daza Mitchell in net, and the answer was clearly Charlie Tritt. I mean, to say he filled the shoes, the skates, is probably a huge understatement. Charlie has been, fantastic. I asked Rylan Hugh what he thought about the games, especially the one in Humboldt. He said that it was, again, not a pretty one, but an ugly one. They grind it out. They battle you. They're heavy. They play hard. They find a way to win. Obviously, what more can you say about Jacob Streetsy? 15 game point streak for him, 26 points over that time. And, it's a weird day. It'll be this whole year, probably, when Jacob Streetsy doesn't get a point of some kind. But I love what Braden Klamosko said. The last thing I'll say about this, I love what Braden Klamosko said about Jacob Streetsy when we did the Friday night spotlight for the first time a couple weeks ago when Humboldt played Nipawin. And just like Kean Bell with Battlefords, Jacob Streetsy is first and foremost all about wanting the Humboldt Broncos to win. He's people say he plays, this game where he's a little cheating or whatever. But let me tell you, when he messages me or is bugging us for something, it's not for him ever. It's always for his teammates. It's always to say this guy deserves this, or that guy, you should see this guy's game right now, or whatever. It's never about him. And so, clearly well-raised kid. Obviously, he's totally in love with the Humboldt Broncos community and the Humboldt community, and just continues to rip it up. And 3 games of the last 12 days, I think, between Humboldt and Kindersley, and the Clippers are probably, happy to see the back of them.
Yeah, for sure. Just a quick question here over on our Facebook comments. This one's from Leonard Strandberg. So Connor, if you can throw that one up. Just kind of going back to our first segment a little bit, Nugsy, with the Western All-Star Challenge. Are the camp games on Flow Hockey? I'm down in Arizona. It's a lot different than it was last year. Last year, we obviously broadcasted the games last year. But this year, it's a bit different. Can you just maybe update everybody on what the update is with that?
Yeah, there's not going to be a broadcast. There were reasons. It's not because we're lame or we're not trying or whatever. We're doing our best to promote these kids. Absolutely. All of us are. But yeah, we decided this year not to broadcast it for a bunch of reasons we'll keep in-house. But yeah, that's just sort of the answer I can give you. But I can tell you that with the help of Carter Hansen. You talk about Trevor Blevins was mentioning Carter Hansen. Carter Hansen's been helpful to me so far. Forget about to the coaches. He's been helpful to me, and that is so rare that a coach is like, let me help you with this and that. He's unbelievable, as Trevor Blevins was saying. So he's the video coach. He's going to help me out. We're going to get some highlights put together so we can at least see what happened in the game. But no, you won't be seeing any live broadcast.
Yeah, so Leonard, I guess the best answer for you is keep it locked on SJHL.ca and all of our social media channels, and we'll have you as covered as we can possibly have you. Let's move on back to the headlines as we bring up the third point, and that's the Bombs are back. Bombs away, Nugsy. Flin Flon with a big bounce-back win over Nipawin on the weekend. And it finally looks like they might be kind of finding that dominance, that strength that we all thought they might have and that they showed at the beginning of the year with 6 straight wins to start the year. Now they're 2-0-0-1 in their last 3, so maybe they found it here.
Yeah, I was having a nice phone call with Mike Reagan actually the morning of the game there on Saturday, and he's a big Blue Jays fan, so we were talking about, what's your speech going to be like to the guys? Like, if we're playing this game, fellas, like, you better show up and win this hockey game, because I'm just not going to be like, it's not going to be okay if you don't show up and play well here at the Whitney Forum. And obviously the Whitney faithful, some of the best, maybe the best in junior hockey anywhere, and they still showed up even though this was during the World Series. And yeah, the Bombers, look at the shot totals. I watched some of it. I look back and watch some of the film. Like, those shots are pretty accurate. The Bombers really took it to them, as we know that they can and usually do at the Whitney Forum. Obviously Mike Reagan has a younger team than he's had probably since the 2017-18 season is when I recall. That was my first year in the league, and I haven't seen a Bomber team this young since then. So, a little bit of patience, but obviously this is a great first step for them. They keep adding, obviously, Sam Ward with a good impact right away, the former Swift Current Bronco on the back end, and they're going to keep adding, I'm sure. But look, it's a much better Flin Flon team, just like it was a much better Melfort team than Trevor Blevins said that they were to start the year. So, give it some time. It's still early November. We hardly remember it by February. And the Bombers will turn it around, and they had a great start right there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go back to the headlines here for number 4, and that's the Dogs are fine. The Dogs are fine. They've won 3 in a row. The Yorkton Terriers we're talking about, of course. They've won 3 in a row. They're 8-6-0-1 now. So obviously they were 5-6-0-1 before this little 3-game win streak, but they've really put it together, and it seems like that balanced roster and those vets have really come out to play and jumped in, but also a couple important rookies as well, Nugsy, for this Yorkton Terrier squad.
Well, what do you do when, you don't feel like you're scoring goals, you don't feel like maybe your forwards are connecting like you want to? Usually what you do is you put your 3 best forwards together and see what they can do. And that's what Emery Lawson has done. He's put Jai Zawadzki and Gabe Corshane and William Leonard together. And, they have made beautiful music together the last couple of games in a row. They clearly stepped on the Battleford North Stars, quick, early, and often in this one. And, Jai Zawadzki is a guy that his name we haven't said probably enough so far this year. I think, we always knew that Jai could skate. He could fly. Little guy, but I think he's added a few pounds. I think he's actually chosen to slow his game down just a little bit, but he can make some plays and work with guys. A guy like Gabe Corshane is a great, connector with him, because again, Gabe's not a big guy. He can skate 100 miles an hour, and he can slow the game down too. And I think that's huge. And, William Leonard, who finishes well, he's tough in the blue paint. He'll put pucks in. It's a really good line in our league, like one of the best in terms of a whole unit together. It's a really fun line to watch, and they've played really well the last little while together. Obviously, Tommy Reese is playing a lot. That's nothing going to change, and he's been wonderful on the back end. But you talk about underrated guys. I know I'm not going to steal your thunder, but one of your underrated guys has actually been outstanding the last couple of years. Whenever you talk to Emery Lawson about his decor, he talks about Cormier. So, there's some iron heralded guys too on this Yorkton team. It's not about whether they can do it or not. It's about whether they can do it, this game and then the next game and the next game. Obviously, Cash Lanigan, maybe the best 08 forward in the league. I know Ethan Dundas and Cole Dupuis and some other guys might be arguing there, but Cash Lanigan has been wonderful too for Yorkton. So they got a lot of pieces, Clark.
Yeah, they got some pieces. And like you mentioned, Cash Lanigan with a big week. So obviously a big piece to the last couple of wins that they've had and a whole lot more. And you know, Callum Craig, coming into the season, we knew he was going to be a top goalie. So not surprising there. And it's just like you said, it's going to be now you've had some success 3 games in a row here. Can you keep that up game to game? And we'll see. Yorkton obviously coming up with a couple games this week. So we'll see. Odds and ends, anything you want to throw in here before we move on, Nukes?
No, but come buy merch at the Warman Wolverines shop. It's quite nice.
There you go. And Warman with a big win this week. So obviously at home. So I know the home crowd is pretty excited about all of that.
Good point. Yeah, and Tristan Ziola as well, pardon me, 3 points in that game in Melfort to bounce back the next night. And yeah, we talked about Tate Timmerman not being healthy, but what a job by Griffin Wright. He's been great. Another unfortunate injury to Hudson Kerr. Hopefully he's back before too long for Warman. But the job that Brett Pilkington has done, adding some guys, Carter Bergen, Bennett Leibel, Oliver Nottingham. So the list kind of goes on. Guys who don't cut it. It's not like Notre Dame days where we're kind of we're holding on to guys because they're here. It's if you're not performing and you're in Warman, then you got to go. And that's the way it is everywhere else in the league, and that's the way it's going to be here too. So it's good to see.
Good to see, yeah. Exciting to see how Warman kind of progresses, obviously with the new franchise and everything going on there. There's a lot, but as they kind of settle in and figure it all out and get really rolling, I'll be very, very excited to see how Warman kind of progresses as a franchise. Before we get to our underrated players segment, Nugsy, let's just have a look at the standings. We'll take a look at the league standings to start it off, just to kind of see where we're at as we head into a new week here with games on Tuesday and Wednesday coming up. But Humboldt has that 4-point cushion in first place with 26 points. Kindersley with 22 points in 17 games. Weyburn with 21 points. Again, they hadn't played in so long. They just had 2 games over the weekend. They did get 1 point in that shootout loss. Estevan has creeped up on them, though, with 20 points in 16 games. Nipawin hanging tight in that 5th spot with 19 points. Yorkton and Flin Flon are now tied with 17 points each. Melfort, they have gotten back into a playoff spot because I remember last week there was a couple of days where they were actually out of a playoff spot, which is really weird to see.
Playoffs?
So they had yeah, exactly. They had 16 points. Right now, Battleford's, again, with only 13 games played, so the fewest in the league. They have 15 points. So they're right there with Melfort, though. And Melville, I should say, who are right below them as well, with 15 points tied. And then Larange and Warman, 11 and 10 to round out the league. Let's look at the division standings really quick to give a shout out to our division sponsors, of course, the Bungie division. As you can see, we've transitioned this graphic now. All the records that you see there are the past 10 games. So you can kind of see who's hot and who's creeping up, and then also who's struggling lately. You can see Weyburn and Estevan are both having really great stretches with 7 wins in their past 10 games. Yorkton has creeped up there with 6 wins, so they're right in the action there as well. And Melville's not far behind. That Bungie division is wild. It continues to be that way. The UPL division, Nipawin still leads it, but Flin Flon with a win this past week over Nipawin has kept it close, and Melfort's right there as well, not too far behind. And then Humboldt is leading the way in the Nutrien division with 8 wins in their past 10 games. 26 points, of course, first place in the league. Kindersley just continues to push games into overtime, Nugsy. 4-2-0-4 in their past 10. They have 22 points. They're second place in the league right now overall. And then Battleford's, like I said, with 15 points and Warman down there at the bottom. So there's in the Nutrien division. So there's our division look. Let's have a look now at the Tourism Saskatchewan highlight of the week. It comes with a big save from Kindersley Clippers goaltender Brett O'Halloran. Let's have a look now.
Big save from Brett O'Halloran, the man with a miraculous save.
Comes number 57.
Big save from Brett O'Halloran, the man.
So the 2-on-1, the pass across, the unbelievable stick and toe save from Brett O'Halloran. You don't see that one very often. And I think even when he kind of got off, like he kind of leaned back there and then came back up, I think he was like, oh boy, how did I get that one? But a great save nonetheless from Brett O'Halloran. Nugsy, let's have a talk about some of our favorite underrated players in the league. I'm going to let you go first. So we each decided to pick 5 guys who They might be very, very good players, but maybe they don't get talked about enough. Maybe they're overshadowed by some guys who are star players in this league, or just a guy you just want to give a shout out to, Nugsy. So why don't you give us your 5 to start off?
Yeah. Well, look, you know, you need to have all the different guys, different seats on the bus, as they say, different role players. And I think these 5 guys, you know, are outstanding in their roles that they have. So it's not always about points with these guys. Sometimes it is, but it's not always. All right, here we go. The first one I have is Landon Alexander with Flin Flon. He sets the tone. He's probably the hardest hitter in the league. You have to pay attention when he's on the ice, just because he can make that impact physically. Second one is Ethan Andrews. I know he's having a monster year. He's getting the points, getting the recognition. Obviously, I know him well from Notre Dame days, but you know, he can skate well, and he's playing so well, and I'm sure he'll be happy to have some help on the back end. They're in Estevan in terms of veteran help anyways. They got some good young D, but some veteran help. Ethan Dundas here in Warman, 08 birth year, Calgary Hitman prospect. Very physical guy as well. He's got 7 points on the year, half point per game. You know, he's a guy that plays hard-nosed, plays the right way. You know, part of a very good Regina Pat C's team. I don't know if you know, but they won the TELUS Cup a year ago, and he was part of that, as well as Cash Lanigan. Jeter Cordy, the centerman for the Humboldt Broncos, great centerman, wins the game, you know, for them, whatever they need, gets on the forecheck, separates pucks, does so well, really helps Jacob Streetsy out on that top line, does a lot of the dirty work. And then the last one is Noah Heinrich, defenseman for the Nipawin Hawks, one of the better skaters in the league. You know, he doesn't always get the points, but he moves pucks so well. And again, he can really fly and track back and recover. You know, when some of his forwards are being a little bit too fancy and a little bit too puck hungry up the ice, he covers them so well with his foot speed. Tad Cozen just loves to talk about him too. So those are sort of my 5, Alexander, Andrews, Dundas, Cordy, and Heinrich.
There you go. And if you remember, Nugsy, in our Friday Night Spotlight episode, what was that, last 2 weeks ago, Tad Cozen said Noah Heinrich might be the fastest player in the league. So that's exciting news there, and we'll keep an eye on that situation. We'll see how that goes. But that's a bold statement, I would say. But my 5, you can't, when you look at the Estevan Bruins, a lot of people, you mentioned Ethan Andrews, a lot of people are talking about Ewan Rennie, a lot of people are talking about Rylan Williams, and Colton Getzlaff gets a lot of looks and talk about him. But Noah Asmundson coming in as a 20-year-old has been really, really helpful. And you can't have 2 star players like Rennie and Williams without having a supporting cast to allow those guys the room to do what they do best. Noah Asmundson, I think, has had a really good year. Face-offs and just balancing out that lineup overall and keeping it so that they can't just target those 2 guys. They have to keep an eye on everybody else as well. So shout out to Noah Asmundson for Estevan. Graydon Porosny for LA. I was going to say LA, but LaRange. I feel like he's a guy who has a ton of skill and a ton of potential, a ton of upside. With the way LaRange's season has gone so far, obviously we saw their roster coming in and we're like, where are the goals going to come from? And I feel like Graydon Porosny has the type of ability to create a lot of offense on his own. And he's got 9 points in 12 games. I feel like that number will creep up, and he's going to be a very important player for LaRange for the rest of the season. Hudson Kerr, you mentioned him in your chat about the Warman Wolverines. He's only played 11 games this year. He's got 7 points in those 11 games, and I feel like he's a guy to keep an eye on because he had 34 points last year, too, with Notre Dame, which, if you remember very well, Newsy, more than anybody. Points were a little bit hard to come by last year for the Notre Dame Hounds, and he had 34 of them. So that's a big accomplishment in a season, a full season. And a guy like Hudson Kerr, he's a 20-year-old player. He's going to be a very important player for Warman. Keep an eye on him. I'm going to say, depending on how Warman's season goes, maybe in the trade talks as a big potential trade bait chip. So keep an eye on it there. But if Warman comes back and pushes for a playoff spot, he's going to be in the middle of it. Riley Cormier for the Yorkton Terriers, I think he's a very good, underrated. Obviously, Tommy Reese gets a ton of talk over there because of what he does. But I feel like Riley Cormier is just as important, just doesn't get talked about as much. He has 9 points in 14 games, too. So he's chipping in as well offensively. And then on defense, we go back to LaRange. Trevor Oishie, they acquired him. He's played 9 games. He has 8 points in 9 games for them. And I feel like they really had a hole there. And he has jumped into that hole and he has filled it. And not only that, but he's, I think, exceeded a little bit of my expectations going up to LaRange. So there's my 5: Adamson, Porosny, Kerr, Cormier, and Oishie. So a lot of, we could have named 48 guys, 50 guys, but obviously with 10 guys, those guys I think deserve a little bit of a shout out. So Nugsy, we're gonna let you go here because I know you have a lot going on, but before we do, please give us your Nugs and notes, please.
It's Nugs and notes, Nugs and notes.
And then right after Nugs and notes, we're gonna say bye to Nugsy, we're gonna hit a break, and we're gonna be joined by Richard Seward from Palliser Insurance to talk about their involvement with the Western All-Star Challenge. But go ahead, Nugsy, Nugs and notes.
Yeah, sure. First 200th career CJHL point, so junior A point for Noah Street or Jacob Streetsy, not Noah.
Not
Jacob
Noah.
Streetsy. You were teasing me. You're like, oh, we should send Jacob a picture of him with the Humboldt Broncos because one of his social media accounts still has him with the great North York Rangers. And I would never do that because I'm a proud, former employee of the North York Rangers, and Jacob and I share that in common. So I'll never tell Jacob to change that one because the mighty up the mighty Rangers. All right, Bruins, you mentioned it, they've been busy. Drew Kosher has been the busiest probably coach remodeling his team. There have been a bunch of moves in the league, but 3 more for Estevan. They had a couple more the week before too, but Lachlan Tedorenko, his dad, you mentioned it, I think Clark from Prince Albert, long pro career for his dad, so he's a Texas boy, grew up minor hockey in Alberta, but Saskatchewan roots. He played for the Saskatoon Blades, Portland Winterhawks, as well as Swift Current Broncos, right shot forward. So he should add some more veteran 18-year-old punch for Estevan up front. I mentioned Matthew Ron, veteran guy. He played for the Bruins in 22-23, came back, played in the AJ for Whitecourt and Blackfalds, all around, elite defenseman. He's going to be an elite offensive producing defenseman in our league. He tries things. He's aggressive. He's electric. He's going to be one of the most best players in our league the rest of the year if he stays. And then Jaron Ashby, a big left shot D from the Grand Prairie Storm in the AJ. Really nice year for Devon as well in the AJ. So it's a great pickup for Estevan to add Ron and Ashby to their back end. They've really remade that. They look like a good team, Estevan does. 2 more. Alessio Nardelli to battle for his North Stars. 127 Alberta Junior League games for Lloydminster, 56 points. Really big year last year for Lloydminster, the Bobcats. Really highly touted kid out of Quebec. And then Canyon Unger was added here to the Warman Wolverines from Canmore, in the AJ. And obviously the Hounds had Unger as a listed player out of the Moose Jaw AAAs a couple of years ago, played a preseason game, scored in a preseason game against Melville a couple of years ago for the Junior Hounds. So, Canyon's a talented kid and will be, a really good fit, you think, here in Warman. And he was right on that line with Kerr, I believe, right away at the stop the weekend there against Melfort. So they'll have to play a big role, especially with Hudson Kerr out now a little bit. So, there's the Nugs and notes for you.
There you go. Well, Nugsy, I'm going to give you the rest of the show off. And it's not because you're not going to get any rest, because you are going back to work. You're actually going to do more work. So please enjoy the next couple of days. I know you're going to. But we're all excited to hear your coverage and see your coverage over on sjhl.ca of the event. So good luck with that, and we'll chat with you soon.
Thanks, Clark.
All right, there's Nugsy. He gone. Bye. I'm by myself now, but after the break, we're going to be joined on the video chat by Palliser Insurance's Richard Seward. He is going to be joining us to talk about the Western All-Star Challenge and their involvement in that event, and a whole lot more about their company. So after the break, join us. We're also going to be announcing the Players of the Month and the Players of the Week, and checking out the upcoming schedule for the next couple of days. So see you after the break.
Feeling left out of can't-miss moments? RBC has programs and resources to help you open the door. RBC clients get access to concerts, Avion rewards, and exclusive benefits. Your idea of memorable moments happens here.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
you buy funds programs all across Saskatchewan, like arts and culture. Buy your tickets today.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You can save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinite 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel student deals.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Well, welcome back to our third and final segment of SJHL Weekly here. It's a big week, obviously, with the Western All-Star Challenge going down in Martinsville this week. And the presenting sponsor of that event for the second year, I believe, in a row is Palliser Insurance. And we're joined now in the video chat by Richard Seward, who will be talking to us a little bit more about Palliser Insurance and the event itself and your involvement. So, Richard, thanks for joining us today. I'm not sure we have audio. Let's come back to that. Why don't we go ahead and announce? We'll do the Players of the Month and Week first, and we'll just make sure we get Richard's audio sorted out because I have a feeling the guys in the back know what's going on. But let's do the Players of the Month now, as we obviously combined September and October because there's only a few games of September, so we didn't want to do a Player of the Month for September. So a big month sample size because it's a month and a half basically. So let's start with the SGEU MVP of the month, and that is Jacob Streetsy. Who else but Jacob Streetsy? He had 26 points over his first 15 games for the Humboldt Broncos, leading the league in scoring. Obviously, this has changed over the weekend because he is actually tied for the league lead in points now, but he was coming into the end of the month there, the league leader in points. So shout out to Jacob Streetsy. The Borgo forward of the month and the guy who now co-leads the league in points, Ewan Rennie of the Estevan Bruins. He had a fantastic start, a huge spark plug for the Estevan Bruins, along with Riley Williams, of course, but the two of them have really sparked the Bruins off to a great start. And obviously, we talked to Nugsy about the additions the Bruins have made, has really helped out Drew Kosher in terms of maybe adding some to this roster and strengthening the roster. The Super U defenseman of the month is going to Gavin Granger of the Battlefords North Stars. I think he's third in league scoring for defensemen, but boy, has he been an important player for Battlefords on both sides of the ice. 15 points in 12 games. A big start to the season for Gavin Granger. The SaskTel goalie of the month, you can't say it's anybody else other than Charlie Tritt. Charlie's start to the season is fantastic. Probably one of the better starts over the last couple of years in this league. 3 shutouts, a 9-2 record, under 2 goals against average, and a .949 save percentage. Just ridiculous stuff from Charlie Tritt to start the year. The Sask Milk Rookie of the Month. This could have gone a couple of ways, but we went with Rowan Burgess of the Weyburn Red Wings. 6 goals in 12 games for the rookie, 14 points. The Weyburn Red Wings were in first place there for a little while, and a big reason for that was the emergence of a guy like Rowan Burgess for that lineup. And as we continue, the Cantera Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Month is Cale Margolis of the Melville Millionaires. In 12 games, he obviously came a little bit later because he was in the WHL to start the season, but once he got there, boy, he took the league by storm. 19 points in 12 games. He actually led the league in scoring in the month of October, so if this was just October, he would have been the league leader in points because Jacob Streetsy obviously had a huge start, so a lot of his points, or a good chunk of his points, came in September in the first few games, and then obviously he was great. He was right there with Cale, but once Cale got there, boy, he led the league in scoring in the month of October. So there you go. There's the Players of the Month. Now we go to the Players of the Week. So the Players of the Month were announced last night on the website, and then this morning we put those out. The Players of the Week, those just came out just a few minutes ago. So let's go over those now. And we already announced a couple of these guys, just one actually. But the MVP, the SGEU MVP of the week is Charlie Tritt. I mean, we can't stop talking about this guy because he's just been so good. He's putting up video game numbers. He had a 2-0 record this week with 46 saves, 1.44 goals against, and a .939 save percentage. And he now leads the league in most of the goaltending stats throughout the entire season. So there, shout out to Charlie Tritt. The Borgo forward of the week, Tristan Ziola of the Melfort Mustangs, just named, of course, recently to the SJHL roster for the Western All-Star Challenge as one of the 2006 players that are there, and he had a big week for the Melfort Mustangs. As Trevor Blevins mentioned, the team has been playing very good. They just haven't gotten the results, but Tristan Ziola is going to be a big reason those results start rolling in for them. The Super U defenseman of the week, we'll go to the Estevan Bruins with Ethan Andrews. 3 goals for Ethan Andrews this week as the Super U defenseman of the week. There he is. And he's currently among the league leaders in points, just points in the league, but also leading the way. I think he's actually first place or second place, I think, in the league the defenseman scoring around the league this season. So Ethan Andrews, a huge piece for the Estevan Bruins this year as they continue their hot start. The SaskTel goalie of the week, Callum Craig of the Yorkton Terriers, a 2-0 week, 59 saves, 1.49 goals against average, and a .949 save percentage. A huge reason the Yorkton Terriers have won their last 3 games, actually, and he had 2 wins this week alone. The Sask Milk rookie of the week, Cash Lanigan of the Yorkton Terriers. We're sticking with Yorkton actually for the next one too. There's a hint for you. But Cash Lanigan with a 3-goal week, 4 points. He's the rookie of the week for Sask Milk, and he's had a great start to the year. And then the Canterra Seeds Saskatchewan Player of the Week. We're staying with the Terriers. It's Jai Zawatsky, who had a 3-goal week, including a 2-goal game the other night. So a big week there as the Yorkton Terriers continue to roll. If you're gonna win 3 games in a row, you're probably gonna get a few Players of the Week. So there you go. Big shout out to those guys. It looks like we're having some issues there with our guest. You're just trying to figure out the audio scenario there. Yeah, we're having an issue there, so I'm going to actually send him a different link and see if that works. As I do that, I'm going to try to talk and send an email at the same time. Not an easy feat, but why don't we have a look at the upcoming schedule? We might as well get that done as well as we try to figure this out. So the upcoming schedule, Tuesday, November 4th. Richard, I don't know if you can hear me, but try the link in your new email there. But on Tuesday, well, we got 2 games tomorrow night. Nipawin is in Estevan for a battle of the black and gold. And then Yorkton is going to be in Flin Flon. 2 hot teams right now taking each other on at the Whitney Forum tomorrow night. So it's going to be a big night there at the Whitney Forum. Actually, you know, it's 2 really good matchups coming up tomorrow night. So it's a big night. Both at the Affinity Place and at the Whitney Forum. And then on Wednesday, we have a couple more games on Wednesday. Yorkton is in La Ronge, and Flin Flon hits the road, actually, to visit the Melfort Mustangs at the Northern Lights Palace. Obviously, another big change that I forgot about until this morning was the time zones have actually changed. So no longer do we have to worry about Flin Flon games at the Whitney Forum being at a different time. They're all at the same time now. We don't have to say local time anymore, thankfully. So that takes one thing off of our plate. So guys in the back, I have sent Richard a new link. He is going to hopefully try the link that Trevor Blevins was on earlier. We'll see if that changes anything. I'm not sure if it will. But why don't we hit a commercial break? Hopefully we'll have Richard when we come back. If not, we'll do our best to get an interview with Richard coming up soon, and we'll post that on our social media channels. But let's hit a break, and when we come back, hopefully, we're going to be joined by Richard Seward from Palliser Insurance.
Feeling left out of can't-miss moments? RBC has programs and resources to help you open the door. RBC clients get access to concerts, Avion rewards, and exclusive benefits. Your idea of memorable moments happens here.
Each year, the SCSA issues over 10,000 training certificates to the construction professionals who build our province. That is the same population as Weyburn. Learn more at scsaonline.ca.
Every ticket you buy funds programs all across Saskatchewan, like arts and culture. Buy your tickets today.
Introducing SaskTel Student Saving Tips. Tip number 138. You could build your own pallet furniture.
So you're living on your own. You can save money by building furniture with pallets.
Or get Infinite 150 for only $50 a month with SaskTel student deals.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
All right, we were hoping we could get that figured out with Richard Seward. I don't believe, guys, we don't have his audio figured out. Am I correct in saying that? Correct, okay. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to Richard just because the show is running out of time now, so we'll have to figure out something else with Richard. Maybe after the show is over, we can get Richard on and put an interview out on our social media channels with that. Obviously, Richard represents Palliser Insurance. Palliser Insurance is the keynote sponsor, the presenting sponsor of the Western All-Star Challenge in Martinsville for the next few days. So they're going to have a great time there, and I know they're going to be well represented there. They're located in Saskatoon. They're a crop hail insurance company. They cover physical damage caused by hail with reliable, simplified coverage solutions across all 3 provinces involved in the Western All-Star Challenge, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta. So they have a lot going on, and if you want more information on how to get in touch with Palliser Insurance, or if you want to get any hail insurance of your own, all of the information can be found at palliserinsurance.com, and you can reach out to Richard at 306-955-4814. And we can definitely get you in touch with them, and we'll actually be chatting with Richard a little bit later on this week as well. So we'll cover everything you could possibly want to know about Palliser Insurance. Something broke? Is that something I should have repeated on air? We're good. Ignoring them in the back. Sorry, we're trying to work out a couple issues on the fly here, and as the show kind of winds down, we're just trying to see if we can figure something out. But obviously, Palliser Insurance, we love those guys, and we'll be chatting with Richard again either on Thursday, definitely on Thursday on SJHL Insider, but we'll try to maybe get an interview with him in the next day or two here and put it out on our social media channels. One more big shout out to our Movember campaign before we go. So make sure, if you want to, I think we have the sign-up graphic, guys, with the QR code. I believe we have that somewhere. There it is. So if you want to search now, I believe most of our teams and our SJHL staff have channels launched on Movember.com. So you can search the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, type out the whole thing. And I think the SJHL staff, you can also search that. And you can find it all there as well. But definitely type out Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. All of our teams will soon have pages on there that you can donate to. You can sign up as a fan of a certain team, which always helps. And then obviously you can donate towards your favorite team or the SJHL staff, which includes myself. So if you want to do that, that'd be great. Last year we raised $21,000. And if you can put up the mission statement, guys, I think we have that as well from last year, but it carries over to this year. With the SJHL, the Movember mission, we are proud to launch our Movember Challenge within our hockey league to raise awareness for men's health. Our community is committed to making a meaningful impact by standing together for men's mental health, testicular cancer, prostate cancer, and suicide prevention. By growing together and supporting each other, we aim to change the face of men's health, one conversation and one contribution at a time. And of course, those 4 things that we mentioned, men's mental health, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and suicide prevention, have touched almost everybody. So it's a very important cause. Of course, as we're raising these young men on these teams to become leaders in their communities, all those things are very important to keep in mind and raise awareness for. So Movember.com to donate and sign up for a fan of your favorite team or the SJHL staff. With that in mind, we've mentioned the upcoming schedule. We've mentioned all the players of the month and the players of the week. So that's probably going to do it for us here today. For everybody in the back, thanks for trying your best, guys. I know it's been a crazy day.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. It's been a crazy day.
I'm just priming my mustache too here.
Yes, yeah. Bryce he's participating in Movember, but he's just not there yet.
No, not just working on it.
Just working on it.
Connor's growing his too.
Connor's growing his. And Steven, how about you?
Steven's troubleshooting.
He's troubleshooting. He's like, leave me alone. I'm trying to figure something out.
Great job. Thanks,
well, thanks, guys, as always. And of course, Kelly. I don't know if Kelly's back there, but he's the king of the mustache. Kelly Lewick, of course, is our big Movember campaign leader. So thanks to everybody back there. Thanks for everybody for joining us today. Obviously, Nugsy on the road. Stay tuned for his coverage of the All-Star Challenge, presented by Palliser Insurance. And Trevor Blevins for joining us as well, taking time out of his day because he's got a ton going on right now. And thanks to you for watching. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media channels. Of course, that's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, and Twitter. And make sure you get your Flow Hockey subscription. And one more thank you to all of our sponsors. I know the guys are working on it, so I'll just read it out. It's okay. Canterra Seeds, Capital Automall, Canalta Hotels, there it is. SGEU, Sask Lotteries, UPL, our presenting sponsor of all of our broadcasts. Chevrolet, Great Western, SaskTel, RBC, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, and Vatterstad. We'll see you on Thursday for SJHL Insider. Nugsy will be back here in the studio, and we'll be joined by a special guest as well, as we have been every week. It's been an alumni season so far on SJHL Insider, so you won't want to miss it. 2 days of games, and of course, the Western All-Star Challenge. So a ton to keep an eye on SJHL.ca, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. Bye for now.